What if the things you see in horror flicks were real, darker, louder, and more painful than anything cinema could imagine? Disturbing voices, soul-wrenching screams, sinister entities, and people pushed past all human limits. Today we dive deep into 10 real-life exorcisms more disturbing than movies. The Boy in Fort Pierce, Florida. In May of 2025, a case surfaced in Fort Pierce, Florida, involving a 6-year-old boy named Ramil Pierre. His mother, Rhonda Joyce Polynice, was later charged with second-degree offing him, failure to report a death, and willfully touching or moving a body. Authorities say she believed she was being instructed by God to exorcise demons out of her son. Over a period of time, the boy was absent from school for over 2 weeks, prompting a welfare check. When deputies entered the home, the boy was found in his bed. The medical examiner is still investigating, but the mother claimed that by restraining him and performing what she believed was an exorcism, the demons would leave and the child would live again. The chilling part is that she apparently believed that the boy had passed, yet insisted that he was released from demons and was merely awaiting resurrection. This case is fresh, raw, and shows how belief mixed with desperation can lead to lethal outcomes. Naomi Proctor. In September of 2021 in San Jose, California, a 3-year-old girl named Naomi Proctor passed during what her family described was an exorcism. Court documents from early 2024 reveal the horrifying details. Her mother, uncle, and grandfather allegedly held her by her neck, torso, back, and legs and forced her to gag in attempts to make her vomit to expel demons, and smothered her repeatedly. She fought, saying "I love you" to her mother, even as she begged to be released. It was brutal, and she sustained injuries that I can't mention in this video, but it was consistent with a violent restraint. Ultimately, she passed of asphyxiation, left on an altar in a church. The caregivers have pleaded not guilty, and the case has stirred conversations about faith, abuse, and the law. Where is the line between spiritual intervention and criminal negligence or violence? The Ammons family haunting. This case, also popularly known as Demon House, involves Latoya Ammons, her mother Rose Campbell, and her 3 children ages 7, 9, and 12. They moved into a house in California Street in Gary, Indiana on November 2011. Very soon after, strange things began. Swarms of black flies on the porch, footsteps in the basement, doors creaking, and shadowy figures. The children claimed terrifying supernatural events. The daughter allegedly levitated above her bed. Her older brother was thrown across the room by an invisible force. The youngest son had his eyes rolled back and began growling that it is time to die. An exorcism was performed by Reverend Michael Magano, 3 in total, 2 in English and 1 in Latin, including 1 performed on Latoya herself. Eventually, the family moved out and the phenomena reportedly ceased. It remains controversial. Some believe something supernatural happened, others attribute it to psychological stress, environmental factors, or misinterpretation. But the sheer intensity, especially the children's descriptions and the involvement of authorities, make this one of the more documented modern cases. The Tanacu exorcism in Romania. Medicisa Arini Cornici was a nun living in the Tanacu monastery in Romania. In 2005, her mental health had been deteriorating. Medical professionals had diagnosed her with schizophrenia, treated her for a time, and then she was released back into the care of the monastery. Father Daniel Petre Coregianu and 4 nuns believe she was possessed. During the exorcism, she was bound, chained with her arms stretched to a cross, restrained in her room, and held inside the church while prayers and liturgies were performed. She had a towel in her mouth to prevent cursing, was anointed with holy oil, and wet lips with holy water. After several days, she collapsed, was taken to a hospital, and passed away. The cause of it was ruled to involve dehydration, exhaustion, lack of oxygen, and possibly an overdose of adrenaline administered by medical responders. The priest and nuns were convicted in Romanian courts. Church and secular law clashed. Sentences were handed down. The case raises questions about how belief, ritual, and psychiatry intersect, and how far rituals can go when physical harm is possible. Anneliese Michel. This is perhaps one of the more famous cases on this list. Anneliese Michel was born in 1952 in Bavaria, Germany. She experienced epileptic seizures as a teenager, was diagnosed with temporal lobe epilepsy and depression, and later exhibited auditory hallucinations, voices, and aversions to religious objects. In 1975, after conventional medical treatment seemed to fail, her family and local priests sought and obtained authorization from the local bishop to perform an exorcism. Over the course of roughly a year, she underwent 67 exorcism sessions, sometimes multiple per week, even lasting several hours. During these rites, she reportedly stopped eating, became extremely weak, began drinking her own urine, eating insects, had hallucinations, extreme aversions, and highly dramatic supernatural claims. She passed in July of 1976 of malnutrition and dehydration. Her parents and the priests were later convicted of negligent homicide. The case has inspired numerous films, including The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and debates about mental illness versus possession, religious freedom, legal responsibility, and about how the church could handle people who claim to be possessed. Anna Ecklund, also known as Emma Schmidt under the alias Anna Ecklund, this is considered to be one of the most extensively documented possession cases in the 20th century in America. Emma Schmidt, a woman who reportedly showed signs of possession from her teenage years, underwent a final exorcism by Father Theophilus Reisinger. She was in her 40s at the time in 1928. The ritual took place in Erling, Iowa, in a convent with the assistance of Franciscan sisters. It lasted months on 3 separate major sessions, August, September, and then December of 1928. Schmidt allegedly exhibited levitation, aversion to holy objects, hissing, howling, speaking in multiple unknown languages, swelling of face and lips, vomiting strange objects, and fitting multiple classic defiances of ritual exorcism. The nuns involved were so disturbed that they asked to be transferred. On the final day, after a long, brutal struggle, she reportedly collapsed, howled out names of demons, then suddenly spoke in her own voice, praying and claiming to be free. The case, Erling Exorcism, remains a benchmark in exorcism lore. The severity and duration are unmatched in many reports. The possession of Roland Doe. This case inspired The Exorcist and remains deeply unsettling. Roland Doe, a pseudonym later identified as Ronald Edwin Hunkeler, was a 14-year-old boy in the late 1940s whose family reported strange activity. This included moving furniture, loud unexplained noises, scratch marks, and disturbances at night. Multiple clergy and priests, Luther Miles Schultz, Raymond Bishop, Walter Halloran, William Baudrin, were involved. One exorcism took place in Georgetown University Hospital, another in a relative's home, and later at Alexian Brothers Hospital. Witnesses claimed Roland broke a bed spring, scratched himself, the bed shook, he spoke in strange voices, showed aversions to sacred objects, levitation was alleged, etc. After the final exorcism, he reportedly led a normal life, more or less. Though many have questioned how much was embellished, the documented diary entries of priests and the fact that so many witnesses testified make this case one of the most disturbing. It blurs the line between trauma, myth, and something else. Clarita Villanueva. In May of 1953 in Manila, a 17-year-old girl named Clarita Villanueva was incarcerated in a city jail. Her mother was reportedly a spiritist and fortune teller. Clarita had a troubled background. Allegedly, she was tormented by 2 demonic entities, had invisible attackers biting her, tormenting, and causing her physical harm. Bite marks appeared on her fingers and neck. During hearings and surrounded by medical presences, the authorities observed that bite marks appeared during Pastor Lester Sumrall's intervention. Clarita reportedly spoke English despite previously only knowing Tagalog. Over several days, she made blasphemous statements, possessed voices, etc. At the end, Sumrall claimed that the demons had left her and that she saw something leaving her and that she was freed. Joanna Lee. Joanna Lee was a South Korean woman living in Auckland. She was involved with a small Christian sect, and Pastor Luke Lee believed that she was possessed by around 20 demons. In early December 2000, exorcism began in a rented hall, then moved to his home. What happened over the next several hours is disturbing. Pastor Lee allegedly sat on her chest and abdomen, bounced on her body, broke several of her bones, and then strangled her. After she passed, church members videotaped her body expecting resurrection, attempted to clean the body with alcohol to remove odor, and kept her around a week before authorities found it. The pastor was initially convicted for 6 years, though later there were appeals. The violence, the belief in her return, the bizarre aftermath. This is one case that shows exorcism crossing deeply into physical abuse and The Exorcism of Kennedy Agyapong. In 2016, London police discovered 20-year-old Kennedy Agyapong had passed after what his relatives described as a violent exorcism ritual. Kennedy, a young man struggling with mental health issues, was believed by his deeply religious family to be possessed. Over the course of several days, his mother, brothers, and extended family members restrained him inside their home. Witnesses later told police he was forced to drink strange concoctions, restrained while prayers and chants were shouted over him, and violently held down as he struggled to breathe. By the time paramedics were called, he had gone into cardiac arrest and could not be revived. What shocked authorities was not just the brutality, but the insistence by family members that they had been helping him, believing wholeheartedly that they were driving out demons rather than suffocating him. Several family members were arrested and charged. The case stands as one of the most disturbing modern examples of how belief in possession can lead to real passing of people in the heart of a modern city far removed from medieval imagery people usually associate with exorcisms. But that's it. Let me know what you thought of this video. Leave a like because it helps me quite a bit. Leave a comment as well if you're feeling generous, and I'll see you in the next video.